Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our Super App Office Hours today, January 8th, 2021. Happy New Year to everyone. I want to do a quick technology check before we get started. If you could, and using your chat function, if you could make sure that you can see my shared screen, you should see a title slide before you, and to make sure that you can hear me clearly. If you could give me a thumbs up in the chat, that would be great. All right, I am slowly seeing the hands go up for people can hearing me. Great, thank you so much. All right, we want to just remind you of a couple of things before we get started. Make sure that you use the chat box to enter all of your questions during today's call. Make sure when you send your questions and put them into the chat that you make sure that you place your name and your email address into the chat box as well. So if we have to contact you after the call in order to answer your question, we have your contact information to be able to do so. Again, make sure if you have questions to place your questions in the chat box, and make sure you place your name and your email address in the chat as well. All right, so our agenda for today. We are going to go through our 21-22 school system planning review again. Many of you that have been on the weekly office hours have seen this information before. It is just a quick reminder, and we'll go through those slides fairly quickly. There are a few updates that we want to provide, but we just want you to keep this information top of mind. So we want to make sure that you see it again. We have a couple of federal support reminders that we want to provide, and then there are going to be some reminders around central data, allocations, and then of course we'll open the floor for questions. All right, so our 21-22 school system planning review. As you all are aware and familiar, all of the 21-22 Super App and school system planning materials can be found in the Department School Improvement Library. And of course, when you have access to this deck, you'll be able to click on those live links there, be able to access any of the presentations for the Super App launch that was done. As you are aware, Super App facilitates your school system planning. First, you identify your priorities. School systems review data and identify the priorities for the coming year. Then you develop and align your budget. So school systems budget formula funds and request competitive funds in alignment with the priorities. And then lastly, you implement those with support. So school systems implement approved plans with support from systems relations team and professional learning partners. The priorities that are continuing for 21-22. So next school year, the CIR and UIR schools will continue to focus on these priorities. And as you note in the chart, it has the priority listed and then whether that is required for CIR and or UIR. So as you'll note, the priorities are continuing: high quality curriculum in all grade levels, high quality professional development for all teachers on the selected curriculum, high quality assessments, teacher preparation partners to address schools' greatest needs, increase school-based capacity through content leader and mentor teacher participation, and student planning partners for the transition to college and/or a professional career. There are also some new and improved priorities for 21-22. So next school year, CIR and UIR schools will have some additional required and/or optional priorities. So for new or improved, you have participation in school support institutes and certified ancillary mentor teachers. New priorities would be K-2 literacy content leaders and culturally responsive PD. And again, the chart notates for you whether that is required or optional for your CIR, UIR-A, or UIR-D schools. UIR-Discipline Requirements. Why is this a focus? So in order for students to be successful, they must engage in a positive, inclusive, and culturally responsive learning environment that develops social, emotional, and academic skills to cultivate personal agency and lifelong success. Louisiana will build the capacity of educators to provide students the unique support they require to be successful, both personally and academically. New next school year, 21-22, UIR-D schools will focus on professional development focused on unconscious bias, culturally responsive teaching, culturally responsive leadership, or diversity, equity, and inclusion training. Here's an update in the school planning slide. So school improvement best practices update. School improvement best practices, WT 4.1, Super App item WT 4.1 enables school systems to request optional competitive funding for CIR schools to implement a variety of school improvement best practices. When requesting funds in Super App, school systems should list each CIR school and the best practices to be implemented at each site in the additional information box on the school improvement best practices WT 4.1 tab. For example, additional information, Benyaic Elementary, instructional leadership team support, teacher collaboration support, Pelican Middle School, instructional leadership team support, teaching standards support, Mardi Gras High, instructional leadership team support. So if this is an option that you are moving forward with in your Super App, make sure that you follow these instructions that have been laid out on this particular slide for you, making sure when requesting funds, school systems should list each CIR school and the best practice to be implemented. And then there's an actual example provided for you. Okay, the school system planning guide, which is probably one of your best friends at this point, it provides guidance on how a school system will build a plan and submit Super App for formula and competitive funds to support that plan. For those who are generally familiar with the school system planning process, each section throughout the guide includes new this year call-out boxes, which highlight the notable changes from last year. So again, this is a new feature that was added into the school system planning guide for you all, just so that you would be aware and would notice anything that was considered new this year. All right, so here are your January key actions. This information can be found on page 13 of the school system planning guide. So right now you should be working to complete the contacts and assurances and central data in the electronic grants management system, or EGMS. You want to make sure that you're entering data into Super App at this time. So make sure that you're paying close attention and staying on task to make sure that you meet the deadline of submission and that you are following these key actions that have been laid out here for January. All right, now we have a couple of things just to kind of remind you of around federal support. So as a non-public reminder, as many of you already know, you're going to upload the intent to participate and the affirmation of consultation and agreement forms. The intent to participate form must be uploaded with the February Super App submission. So only your intent to participate is the form that you have to upload for your the February Super App submission. With your affirmation of consultation and agreement, that must be uploaded with your second Super App submission. We just wanted to remind you of that. Also, you want to make sure that you spell out the non-public schools and school districts' names. Do not abbreviate. You want to make sure you upload certified mail documentation. For example, the green cards and the mail receipt only if the non-public school has not returned the intent to participate form declining services. So again, just make sure you have the documentation and that you can upload the green card and the mail receipt only if the non-public has not returned the intent to participate form declining services. All right, and you do not upload the non-public needs assessment forms, consultation agendas, and etc. We just want to make sure that this is a reminder for everyone. We know that you're probably familiar with this process already and that you are ready for the submission. So again, the intent to participate is the only document you're going to be uploading for your February Super App submission. Okay, Title I, Part A, CSPR data submission. The department must report in the Consolidated State Performance Report, or we refer to as CSPR, its progress and compliance with the Elementary and Secondary Education Act. LEAs and charters must submit student and staff data for Title I, Part A in the following programs: public targeted assistance programs, private school students participating in Title I programs, and students served in local neglected programs. So for LEAs and charters that fall into one or more of these three bulleted categories that we have listed, the categories again would be public targeted assistance programs, private school students participating in Title I programs, and students served in local neglected programs. You will receive an email with instructions to enter data into the LEADS portal from Edeltris Brown or Daphne Flint-Roy. So this is a very targeted outreach. It is only for the LEAs and charters that fall into these three specific categories, and you will be notified via email from Edeltris Brown or Daphne Flint-Roy if you need to enter data in the LEADS portal. All right, and at this time, we have some grants management reminders, and I'm going to turn things over to Mr. Randy Littleton so that he can provide those reminders for.
Good morning. Thank you, Kenya. So again, as Kenya pointed out, just a few reminders that we wanted to go back over here. Again, your 21-22 central data is released. It's available in EGMS for you to complete. Just remember that it was not required for you to create the application. However, completion of 21-22 central data is required for your February 12th submission. So keep in mind that that should be completed prior to you running your consistency check to make sure that we eliminate those errors prior to the submission. So 21-22 Super App estimated allocations. In our last office hours, we indicated that we would load your 21-22 estimated allocations by February 12th. The staff have worked very hard to make sure that this has happened. So we are happy to tell you that as of today, January 8th, we are loading, as I currently speak to you, the staff are busy loading your estimated allocations for the 21-22 Super App. This funding will be available and visible to you by close of business today. So the funding that is being loaded includes your Title I, II, Title III, Title IV, neglected and delinquent, DSS, your IDA 611 and 619, and your Carl Perkins estimated allocations. It will not include your Title III immigrant, migrant, and Title V. Any funding for those fund sources will be loaded at a later time. Keep in mind that the grant period for all funds being loaded as estimated allocations will begin on July 1 of 2020, and that your estimated allocations are 90% of your prior year, 90% of your 2021 final allocations. So as you work through the process of moving Super App toward that submission date of February 12th, as mentioned before, as Ms. Kenya talked about, we have added the option this year for those one-on-one technical assistance calls. If you find yourself in need of that, please use the link below to schedule that meeting. We'll be more than happy to work with you on any issues, but by completing the form that's needed for this call, it will help us to identify the staff that we need to have at the table to ensure that we provide you with the best information we can regarding any inquiries you may have. And again, just wanted to reiterate one more time that the Super App submission deadline for the 21-22 application is February 12th. Note again, the non-public budget detail is not required for that February 12th submission. The non-public budget detail, because of other issues, other things that you have to complete, will be due in the April submission, and the department will review and approve the budgets that are submitted on February 12th by April of 2021. For your final allocations in the 2021 Super App, also, those are being loaded as we speak. So today, by close of business, you should be able to see your final allocations for all ESSA, IDA, and Carl Perkins funding. Then I do see a mistype in this. It is for your 2021 Super App. As we noted before, to minimize any disruptions in the amendment process, the submit function, and that is also noted on our login page right now, the submit function for the 2021 Super App only has been turned off. We will reopen that submit function at the end of the day. That's just to be sure that you don't, while you're trying to complete some work, hit a submission and then numbers have changed as it's trying to submit. So we have closed that submission. It will reopen at the end of the day, and we recommend that you do not start any amendments during this time period today, during this closing window where we are changing allocation amounts. All right, Ms. Kenya, I'll turn it back over to you.
Thank you, Brady. All right. Thanks everyone for walking through this with us this morning. I know there was one question that came through regarding when would you be, if you are going to receive the email about the CSPR reporting, when would you be receiving that? That email from Mrs. Brown or Mrs. Flintroy will be coming next week on Monday. So make sure that you watch your emails. And so we begin to send those out next week, beginning Monday. All right, at this time, we will pause for a moment to see if there are any other questions that need to be addressed at this time. All right, Mr. Brown, do we have any questions that we need to respond to at this time?
We do actually have questions streaming in, so give us just a second to pull together responses.
All right, thank you.
Okay, as we're still responding to some questions, I can begin with two questions that we received. One question was, can we request funds for Tier 1 supplemental curricular resources for labeled schools where Tier 1 is already in place? The response there is no. School systems may only request competitive funds for curriculum to support the purchase of high quality curriculum materials at CIR and UIR schools where a high quality curriculum was not in place last year. A similar question, if the school system already has a Tier 1 science curriculum in place for a particular grade band and are not satisfied, can we request competitive funds to switch to a new science curriculum for that same grade band? The response here is similar. No, school systems may only request high quality science curriculum competitive funding at CR and UR schools where a high quality curriculum was not in place last year. However, we will note that if the school system is Title I funds may be used to purchase supplemental resources for that curriculum, but only under certain conditions can Title I funds be used to actually purchase the curriculum itself. We still have a few more questions. Give us just another moment. Another question we can respond to at this time. The question is, when will the deck be available for today's office hours? We are working on a link to that on the website right now. Unfortunately, it's not available quite yet, but it will be posted to the School Improvement Library in the Super App Support section of our website later today.
So there were a couple questions around 2021 amendments of Super App. One was questioning whether amendments should be submitted this week. Amendments are fine to be submitted. The only time frame that you cannot submit a 2021 amendment is today while the submit function is turned off. Once we reopen that submit at the close of business, you are able to, again, continue submitting amendments for the 2021 Super App. The other question was, if we have an amendment already open, is that okay as long as we don't try to submit it? Yes, an open amendment will not affect you. That is fine. As you stated, just as long as there's no attempt to submit today, that functionality is not available.
This is Bernal. There are couple of questions regarding the non-public affirmation and agreement forms in terms of when to upload it. Should they be uploaded in the February 12th submission? And the answer to that is yes, the agency is expecting the results of the intent to participate and the affirmation and agreement forms to be uploaded in February. And that's in particular for the non-public schools that are choosing not to participate. One other question regarding the CSPR email. The question is, who exactly in the district should anticipate receiving the email? And the answer is each federal program director should anticipate receiving that email, as Ms. Jenkins said, on Monday. This is Vernell Cook again. So I want to be clear regarding the affirmation agreement forms. The only non-public forms that you can upload in the February submission is just simply for the non-publics that choose not to participate. All other affirmation agreements will be uploaded in the submission later in the spring. Just want to be clear there.
All right, at this time, we have either responded to all questions out loud or through the chat feature directly back to the person who asked the question.
All right, thank you, Mr. Brown, for that, and for Mr. Cook and Mr. Littleton for your responses to the questions. We appreciate that this morning. So at this time, since we do not have any other questions in the chat or need to respond to anyone else directly, we will thank you for joining us during our office hours today. Please remember that we are here to support you through this process, and that if you need any other assistance, that we have these avenues of support here for you. The School Improvement Library, where you can find all things Super App, the LDOE weekly newsletters, the System Leader monthly calls, the Super App planning support calls, and you have your school system relations team that can be of assistance to you as well. Again, office hours are scheduled each Friday at 10 a.m. Make sure you review your newsletters each week to make sure that you have that information. And you can send your questions related to the school system planning and Super App to the Grants Help Desk, the email address listed there for you. And please make sure that you place Super App in the subject line. All right, at this time, again, we have no questions, so we will thank you for joining us. Please have a great rest of your Friday. And again, thank you for taking time to be a part of this call with us this morning. Have a great weekend.